The hell? Am I still alive? No, Fred, you're dead. So why am I here, damn it?
Because of the stalker.
Without him, none of this exists.
Well, it's not a sword, but it'll have to do.
Look, doesn't she remind you of that nurse?
Say goodbye to the other world. Welcome to the making of City of Rott, Otherworld. I'm Frank Sudol, sole creator of the film, which is a fun challenge that allows for total creative freedom, but I'll cover many of the steps to creating the movie, including the artwork, animation, voices, sound effects, music, editing, and so on. But first, let's take a look at my prior independent animated films to see where it all started and how things have progressed towards City of Rott, Otherworld.
Well, pal, you're not going to get away with it that easy. Are you threatening me? Because if you are, don't expect a retirement plan. You shouldn't be worried about my retirement plan. You should be worried about your own. Get 'em, boys. Uh-oh, a storm has blown up. Arrow's overheated. Let's hide him for now. Perhaps we can avoid what we're looking for.
Chicken Chop Shop.
Watch out, fellas. This is the spaghetti room.
Shut up. You're making me hungry. Hey, pal. Looks like you could use some tomato sauce.
What happened? How come they got away?
It happens every now and then, sir.
Every now and then, no chicken escapes from my chop shop.
I'd really like to get the cash. Doing takes too long, and I'm already an old woman.
We're gonna get started right away, ma'am. Don't you worry. We'll have this place cool in no time.
Wonderful! I'm gonna buy a new rocker first thing.
Get started? With what? We don't have the air conditioner. I don't know. Start banging stuff. Make some holes or something. We're getting paid by the hour here. The boss finds us goofing off and we're finished. How about we call them up, make sure this is the right house? How's it gonna look asking them that? Of course it's the right house.
The new toaster will go right over here next to the oven. What
What's all that racket? What are all those holes for?
Oh, that? We're just aerating your walls, lady, so they could get more airflow.
I see.
Check the water supply for worms.
I don't drink water.
Heat metal.
Mindless freaks. I still care.
How much for your best loafers? Hey, my old driver's license. Seeing things, huh? Feels good to be wanted, huh? What the hell are the odds?
Let us neglect for the unfair treatment of the wretched.
And look who it is, the king of freaks. You're behind all this, aren't you?
They murdered my sons.
What's wrong with her? What do you think? That time of month, huh? No, you stupid ass, she's been possessed. I couldn't tell the difference. I gotta use the toilet. You can handle this, Max.
Take over! You will not be spared. Before the spell expires, you will die.
now I'm gonna miss my favorite TV show.
Is that the big turd you were talking about?
That's the one. Big, ain't it?
Strike out. Grab all the food we can reach in government base.
This base yours, what kind of weapons does it have?
Loads of weapons, food, the works.
Shh. Listen. Have to go to work today.
Since when do guns repair a ship? Relax, Captain. Just cooperate, and there won't be a problem. I thought you were here to help. Payment is required for sovereign protection. If we don't deliver, people die. Who do you report to? That's classified. The Defiance. The car was for the Defiance. My gem! Turn it over, pumpkin, before it's too late! Please, turn a stone already. I got one more gourd to collect. You never get the chance. Goodbye, gnome. Oh. Hey, watch where you're putting your feet. don't eat enough food.
The skin worms eat you alive. I know all about it.
Skin worms? So what am I supposed to do? Starve?
Successfully complete your big scouting mission to renew your privileges.
How am I supposed to complete a mission without a team? Give me a chance, guys. I'm not the clod you think I am.
Yeah, he's worse.
So, you guys investigating that UFO?
None of your business. Why do you care? Wanna join us, get us all killed? If you mess this up...
I promise. I'll draw them as far away as possible.
He's a dead man.
What have you done?
I think it's obvious.
Big problem.
Where are the other scouts?
Tell your boss Zavala was here. And while you're at it, ask him for the cure.
What cure?
The cure to your skin worms, of course.
Ever hear of Fred Figueroa?
Yeah, I heard of him. Guy was nuts.
He was my brother. And also the best walker fu master that ever lived.
You're not too bad yourself there, old man. Help! Why?
Don't you wish to be cured?
Please. I can take him down. Kill Zavala!
It's all over.
Before you drop dead, did you see Zavala?
It's because of him my daughter perished. If you want the cure, get inside that UFO.
Destroy the UFO by tomorrow morning.
What?
To find me for the last time! Execute them!
Put on the armor.
Detached.
No wonder this mall went out of business. I could have used a new pair of slippers.
Something deadly waiting in the darkness. There is something evil lurking in the night. Don't turn around! In the tales of the dim. Stay away or I'll shoot! What the bloody hell are you?
So when deciding to create the story for City of Rott, after City of Rott 2 was completed, I was considering just continuing from that point with a new City of Rott 3, but I did want to bring some new ideas to it, and I wanted to feel motivated to continue the story, but I wanted to create some ideas that would motivate me to actually complete the film. So back in November 2014, and prior to that, I came up with a new character, Bumpus, who appears in the first few minutes of City of Rott Otherworld as it is now, but he was a completely different character in this script. Here he was only 3 foot tall, and he had a pet rabbit that he had to protect, who was originally owned by his daughter, who then became a zombie. And then he goes through the story, and I never did the dialogue, but I do like the story, and the thing is, I wanted to give Fred one more chance in the City of Rott, since I feel there were some story elements I wanted to cover there. So I put that one away, and then I said, well, let me try something different. Maybe it'll be set on different planet. So I came up with this script. This is a full script with all dialogue, and I did a couple drafts of it, but I decided against it because it was a little too far out there for what I was going for, and I let it sit for a couple weeks, and when I came back to it, I said, well, I want something a little more traditional in the terms of City of Rott, the original film. So this was almost like a whole different story, which I could still do, but the sci-fi elements were a bit too much for what I was going for now. So then I finally settled on the original story of City of Rott, and what I always thought while watching zombie movies, what would happen if you were a zombie and let's say you did have a spirit or a soul. What would happen to that spirit or soul if you died as a zombie? I said, well, maybe there's another world, or like a hell for where you go. So then I came up with this story, and I said, hey, that would allow me to bring Fred back with his walker instead of having to use his brother Harry.
Ever hear of Fred Figueroa?
Yeah, I heard of him. Guy was nuts.
He was my brother. And also the best walker fool master that ever lived.
And then I could introduce Max to Fred and bring Sarah back in there and cover some plot points that I really wanted to cover.
You want the antidote, lady?
There's an antidote.
What are you doing, Fred? Ditch this leech. First, you need to go in there and find me a new pair of loafers. My feet are killing me.
What the hell is an old man doing out here by himself? In Rott City of all places.
Who says he's by himself? Looking for a new pair of slippers. How much for your best loafers? Hey, my old driver's license. store didn't have these slippers. Sons of bitches. What's the matter with the ones you got? These are old. They're worn out. I want a new pair. Well, can't you see those loafers? They're leading me to a shoe store, damn it. I have to follow them. You don't have to follow anybody. Use your head. Think for yourself. Let's see. New discovery. Scientists find new breed of worm. Unlike the Rott worm, which first kills the host, then turns them into a puppet zombie, the brain worm is less lethal and acts more like a traditional parasite. Brain worm symptoms include partial memory loss, rapid age progression, confusion, hallucinations, and the telltale sign, hearing voices. You need to let go. It's not fair. I don't want to be a zombie. I'm not ready to die. Well, let's just hope they're brain worms and not rot worms.
Remind you of that nurse? The one who brought me my walker on the bridge when all hope was lost? Don't risk yourself for her, she's not worth it. But what if I can help her this time?
I told you, she's radioactive. You hang around her, you'll be dead. Stay back, Stalker. These are my friends.
Without Sarah, the stalker would have caught us.
Bad she's almost dead. Find my legs now, or she dies. You want answers? Then follow me.
Looks like your plan went to hell, Fred. It's what you do that matters, right? Right.
If I can't have my dream, maybe you can have yours.
Kick some zombie ass!
So then I came up with this script. And this went through probably about 10, 12 rewrites and variations, and definitely settled on one that I liked the best. So let's do a little recording of it. And this is a program called Audacity, and I've set aside a little dialogue here. So we'll record it and press record, and then we'll show you the quick way to edit it. So right now it's recording, and just allow a little silence there so we can edit it later. But so the first line is Fred, and he says, "How did you keep the stalker away?" So I'll do the voices now.
How'd you keep the stalker away?
So that sounded okay, but I could do it again. I do a couple takes.
How'd you keep the stalker away?
You'll find out soon enough.
And that was Renzer. And then Max enters the picture and says,
"Okay, Renzer, here's another recruit. Now how about your promise?"
So that was that version. Now, the reason you want to do at least 2 versions where you say it twice is not only to get different performances, but also sometimes there's a noise in the background, or too much bass or treble, or something goes wrong. So a second take will save you some time, even though it takes a little more time. So then you could do it again, say,
"Okay, Renzer, here's another recruit. Now how about your promise?"
And see how that's slightly different. And then, fine, Max, wait outside. And that was okay, but I could do it again. Fine, Max, wait outside. And that would be that character. And then, to continue really quickly, Renzer would say, Max is one of my new scouts. He finds recruits for our cause.
So why am I here, damn it?
Because of the Stalker. Without him, none of this exists. Destroy the Stalker, and you destroy yourself. And everything with it.
Listen, just show me the Bridge of Rott.
Of course. You know Sarah?
Yeah.
Then bring her to me. She owes me.
You gonna tell me how you keep the Stalker away?
Do we have a deal?
Yeah, sure.
Max is one of my new scouts. He finds recruits for our cause.
So why am I here, damn it?
Because of the Stalker. Without him, none of this exists. Destroy the Stalker, and you destroy yourself. And everything with it.
Listen, just show me the Bridge of Rott.
Of course. You know Sarah?
Yeah?
Then bring her to me. She owes me.
You gonna tell me how you keep the Stalker away?
Do we have a deal?
Yeah, sure.
Now we'll tackle one of the most challenging aspects of creating an animated film, and that's the lip syncing. And the reason it's challenging is because it's not exactly difficult, but it is kind of monotonous in the sense that, for me anyway, even though I do enjoy seeing the finished result, it does take quite a long bit of time to do something that is kind of tedious and not exactly fun. So anyway, here's Fred from the scene where he first meets Sarah in the other world. And if we skim through this, here's the audio file right here. And what we do...
Look. Doesn't she remind you of that nurse? One who brought me my walker on the bridge when all hope was lost?
Now that's already animated by myself, but see how that matches? He's saying that's what I use for the L mouth, and the way we see that is right here under Fred. And I have all this set up already, but that's the mouth that's operating right now, right there. See how that's highlighted there? So let's zoom in just so you can see better. See how the mouth, watch this, see how the mouths change. So here we are, we're on this one. See how that is visible with this layer visibility. And this is affected that's affected by the visibility, because we could just shut off the visibility and have nothing. But the only way you can control that is to go double click on each thing and then press this as you need it. So let's say we had to animate the word look as the most basic part. Now let's go into these and have every mouth off. So they're all off now, except for that one. So now, I'll say, that means I had those on. So I just want to show you the process really briefly without taking up too much time, because we have so much to cover with the making up. See, now that's what you start off with. That's where the sound starts, the L sound. And that's why we want this to become invisible. So when you're starting off, you just go like that. It becomes invisible. Now you're left with nothing, see? So that's why you need to go in here and make this invisible. Now that's the shift where he's going into the O mouth, the oo or O or whatever you want to call it. Now that's the shift there, the K. You gotta listen very carefully. And my work on South Park, the movie, definitely taught me all about lip syncing and what it takes to become a professional lip sync artist. And I was able to work on the entire length of that professional production for Paramount Studios under the South Park movie, and learned a lot. It was a very challenging experience, but it really taught me about lip sync animation and some, of course, technical directing as an assistant technical director and an additional animator. I got to do a couple fun short scenes of basic animation, like the scene with Terrence and Phillip in the streets of Canada where they're singing the Uncle song. I animated quite a bit of that, and of course Kyle, Stan, Cartman, Kenny, and a bunch of other characters I lip synced for. When I say animated, I mean for the Terrence and Phillip, I moved their heads and I set up some scenes, like the scene where all the people are at the very end of the last line of the Uncle song. I was able to add a couple characters in there. I didn't set up the whole scene, but I did add some characters, and one of them was of myself. I was wearing a black shirt, black pants, and I had black hair, and that was one of the moments I created that character. I said, well, this will represent myself, and let's see if they delete that, because that was the only character wearing all black. All the other characters had colorful shirts on, so they let it through. That's a little bit about my experience on the South Park movie. And that's what transitioned to this scene where I've learned how to become a lip sync artist over the years. But you move ahead, do whatever for the character, and that's how to lip sync.
Look, doesn't she remind you of that nurse? The one who brought me my walker on the bridge when all hope was lost?
Here we'll discover and learn how to assemble a character within the Anime Studio program. This way, for example, if you want to create character Fred, I'll show you the basics of how to do it. So we have a program called GIMP, which is just like very much like Photoshop, but not quite. and it's a free program for anyone interested. You can take a look at it, but I find it's a useful program with all the updates computers get, rather than have to invest in a very expensive program and then you can't use it anymore because the new software doesn't support it, new operating system. So rather than do that, I just use GIMP. So what we have here is Fred, and now this is all many different parts, pieces, because if it's all a single bitmap image, it's not going to work. You'd have to separate them. You can't just draw this as a single piece. You have to create the head and then the legs and the arms and the body and the eyelids and the eyebrows. So that's what this all is, and I've labeled each piece. So this is within a bitmap program, and the resolution is high enough so I could zoom in pretty close. The final film resolution is actually even higher than this. So to start out, what you would do is, let's say none of these other pieces existed. Let's say where's that other arm? There it is. So let's say we just started off with the head by itself. What that would look like is this. That's, oh, and there would be no mouth because the mouth is a variable. It has different parts to it. So then that's what I drew by hand. What you do is create the mouths. So you have that closed mouth, the open mouth, and this, but these aren't originally like that. What you have is it would be over here. And see how I have part of his nose because it overlaps, but then you move it to that part so it matches there, and you have all those different mouths for the expressions and the dialogue and phonetics of the talking. So for example, this would cover M, like the sound M. This would cover E, E sound. This would cover a T sound, for example, and other sounds. And this would cover a oo, like cool or something like that. And then this would cover a ah sound. And at least two A or E sound mouths are good to vary it up. You only really need one T mouth. You need one U mouth, and then for the F sound, I sometimes use the M mouth because it's so similar. Unless you're looking for a realistic character, then you can create a separate F mouth. What we do is we save this file as compact as we can get it, so we wouldn't need that. And then of course his eyebrows you can put on, but every layer you want within the program, you have to make those visible while you save it, because if you don't, it won't import it into Anime Studio. So we'll just turn all the layers back on, and then we could do a quick fit canvas to layers, and that'll just isolate it so you don't have a huge file. And then you just export it, and then it'll be saved assembled, or you could have it unassembled, so you'd have all the parts all separate sections, and then you could assemble it within the program itself. Or you could save those out as separate layers in separate files. For example, I'll show you right now. So we have Fred here. That was assembled. Now see how I have this file by itself, and then the eyebrows and the eyeballs, and then different variations of it. So once that's finished, then we would go into this program, Anime Studio Pro, and then let's say we wanted to bring that guy in there. So we'll just bring him individually by layers, and now it creates a skeleton. So now that we're back to square one, that's why we have to take these layers individually and move them apart. This way that variation of the weight that you want to apply to each part will affect differently. So see how that's moving, and we want all that together. Just do a shift and then select, and then just move that all together up like that. We can zoom out if we want. That's only for rendering. So then really quickly we need to give this skeleton. So now we have to piece it together, and you use this tool, and then you just bring them all in. See, we're on frame 0. You have to be on frame 0. He starts walking, and then he stops. And finally, if you want him to blink, you go into pupils. Now we're actually within the frames, the parts themselves, and then invisible. So he'll close his eyes at this point, but you want to match the eyeball so he doesn't look like a zombie. And then you can have them reopen wherever you want. So now that that's been established, just click on that and it'll reopen just like that. So he closes his eyes. Now his pupils, we could zoom in, and these are the movement. So first establish the keyframe where it starts, and then you can move the eyeball. But if you just move it right away, it's just going to start in that moved position. You have to establish the start point. Okay, we're gonna draw a zombie today, and let's see how it turns out. This is my second test of this program, Krita. So anyway, there's a bit of a delay because I'm recording and then drawing, and then I got the music playing and then the voice recording, so that's why you're getting a slight delay. But right now I'm just visualizing what this zombie will look like. And this is all just adding to the detail of making the character more filled out with each line that you draw. So right now I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to put the mouth? Do I want the mouth attacking? So what I'll do is I'll start with the teeth and just draw some teeth in there. I'm looking like it's going to run out of room, so I'm still getting used to this program. I don't see a hand tool that would allow me to just drag the thing up without having to go with these bars here. But anyway, let's just keep going. Just thinking about teeth and what teeth look like, and then I just want to draw a decayed chin and mouth. So it looks like I did fit it in there. Now when I'm going over here, I want to visualize something over here for his jawbone, the edge of his jawbone. So then I'll go like that, and And then with this, I could finish this off now that I'm pretty confident about the way it turned out. Then you could just draw a line there, and then there. Now you could do a paint in and just color that in, but then you see what you got left. You gotta go over these little lines here, otherwise that's because it doesn't end on a perfect pixel. It smooths out, so when you paint it in, you got those little edges there. So then let's continue, and we want to visualize the top of his head, because you have a couple hairs sticking out of his head, just to give it a little more of a unique detail. So then this line here helps round this out. See how you got like a round shape there, and you're just filling it out. So now with the eyes, I want to determine, do I want blank eyes or do I want expressive eyes? I think I'll probably just go with blank eyes, just no pupils or anything. That'll be like a scary look, because you're looking at the zombie and he's got no eyes. Sometimes I'll use like little pupils, and that gives it more of a direction of where he's looking, but the pupils I would usually make more yellow or more unique in a sense. But anyway, you could put that in there. That's like a little detail. If you study the human face, you'll see that it caves in right around here. So with this, let's finish off the full face here and give him a ripped, decayed ear, although cartilage usually holds up pretty well from what I've heard. So you don't want to cut the back of his skull off too much, like I could have went here with the line, but I'll extend it out there. This way, if he turned his head to the right fully, you'd see it would round out at the back. We're just going to draw the face today. And now with the neck, it could be a thin, because he's all decayed. But let's just end it there. Actually, let's not draw the neck, just in case I want to copy and paste this into a new zombie. I won't have to worry about that part there. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Okay, so here we have a program called Anime Studio Pro version 8, and this is very similar to what I was looking for compared to Image Ready Photoshop 5.5 from 1999, which was a very limited animation program where you couldn't rotate or scale the bitmap objects, so that was really tough to work with when I created City of Rott, Dead Fury, and Shock Invasion.
What's the matter with the ones you got? These are old. They're worn out. I want a new pair. Toss out the old stuff. Huh, Fred? Well, what good are old shoes? They don't work right. How come we don't toss you out? You're old. I'm not a pair of shoes.
So with this, to get to the point, let's take a look at how to create a basic scene for City of Rott Otherworld. So here are all my files. I have a lot of files and pictures and backgrounds that I create before I start the film. And for example, let's do just a basic character scene. So I'll have this image here, and then I could have the bridge or the Mall of Rott. But let's start with this scene here. So we'll just drag and drop it right into the program, and there it is right there. You want to have the image have a high enough resolution so when you zoom in like this and then render it out, it'll have no pixelation, which sometimes can be a challenge based on what you're doing. So 1920 by 1080 is the resolution for Blu-ray. To go to 4K at this time would take forever to render a single image out, let alone an entire 90-minute film. So moving on, let's take a look at this scene and focus in. So let's create a character now. We have a whole list of characters that I made and assembled. So let's get a zombie in there. And I like this zombie here. So let's just throw him in there. And I already have him set up. So what we do is go to frame 1, as you can see here. You want to reduce his size, otherwise he's giant, and get him about the size of the car or the doorway there. You could scale it as you progress through the animation. So let's say he's walking out the door, so we'll shrink him down to the door size, this way he's not giant. And then let's say we wanted to start off closer, so let's zoom in with these really useful tools here. So let's look at what that walk would look like. If we zoom out really quick, this is gonna loop, and that's just a basic walk I created. So now that we see that, let's say I want to zoom in now. I could either do a zoom or I could do a direct cut, but let's start with a zoom. So by doing that, that's going to be the start off point. So we'll have a still frame, and now we're going to zoom in, and let's zoom in by frame 6, so we'll be close to his face. So we just zoom in with these tools. If we want to watch that back without the extras, we just press play and here's the animation. It's not going to be as smooth in real time all the time if there's a lot going on, but it gives you an idea. And then it just zooms up, and there he is knocking at the window, and that's how to do a basic animation without any effects or anything like that. this step, well, I'll show you how to create a horde of zombies all in one shot without having to have, let's say, 20 to 1,000 zombies, all individual characters, but instead group them as a single character in a large group. So like the first film, I had to decide, well, how am I going to animate hundreds of zombies all at once? I'm only one guy. So for example, let's look at some of these files I set up. Let's pull this one in just to show an example of what's going to happen here. So this is a animated file that I rendered out, and as you can see, the .move file has opacity, transparency to it, so everything behind it is clear. Then we'll get this effect. It's real choppy because it's a huge file. That's the idea. Now we have all those zombies in one image, one scene, and then we could just animate it. But when I render it, I actually have these settings here for the final film. Then we go into animation, and then you have to do millions of colors plus for this to work. Then you press OK. Now it's going to render it, but you're in the final, see how it blocks out the transparency, creates transparency. So when this is finished, you'll have a transparency. Let's cut it short and I'll show you. And there it is. See how you can move them as a single file? It's the animation. The next step is the sound effects, and over the years since City of Rott and Chicken Chop Shop and Dead Fury and Shock Invasion and all the other movies I've created on my own, the one thing I decided to do early on is to have a sound effect library that I created on my own. This way I don't have to recreate new sound effects for every single film, but rely on the library. So for example, I'll have creatures, and for the dog barking, I made a barking sound, and and that's it right there. Brother. So that was the... See how that morphs as you raise the pitch? And these are the edits. It sounds much more like a dog, a smaller dog. And then you could edit it into different things, but that's the general idea there. So then, with what that looks like, let's say for example I wanted to look at the dog barking. If you pull that in, it's going to look like that. And that of course is the little pug-faced dog. What I'll do is I'll take a bunch of objects, they call it a Foley artist, where you take a bunch of objects and make noises with them, and you record them, and then you could alter them as needed. So you could make a bunch of sounds depending on what you're hitting. Use different objects like glass or metal or wood or whatever object you could find, and then you could create sound effects and alter those sounds to warp into the sound that you're looking for. So let's try it. We're going to record, and this is what it takes to create this effect. So that was two pieces of very thick blocks of glass hitting each other. So what we want to do is go back in, and we want to edit that. It's almost like rocks hitting against something or falling out of a bag or something. So that's how to do sound effects. So with the film editing process, what we do is once we finish each clip of animation, then we could bring it into here. We'll have up to 50 to 100 different clips here that we sort through and we could edit. So for example, I isolated an earlier scene where Max climbs up the ladder, and then this is out of order, but the scene with Fred that normally cut into the scene with Sarah in the film, I edited it differently because I added some bonus shots of a new zombie character that added more depth to the film from my perspective. So what you want to do here is, if your aspect ratio is meant to be in this view, you want it to fit. If you do crop to fill, then it's going to zoom in and you'll lose that other rest of the image. So that's one thing this program doesn't automatically do, that you have to manually select everything and then go back in and do it. Otherwise it's going to zoom in and the image won't be as sharp. So we put this scene in here because as soon as he finishes talking,
And there's no better time than now. So are you happy? Ask me after I cross the bridge.
so right there's a slight delay. So as an editor of the film, you could cut it right there. So the second he finishes his sentence, you could say, okay, well, we'll cut right directly into the next shot rather than have that half a second delay.
Happy? Ask me after I cross the bridge.
So you would cut right into it. So then the music kicks in right here, and then this connects directly to what he was just saying, because we haven't seen the Bridge of Rott until this scene was added. So that was intended to connect the movie a little better with visuals, like a visual storytelling rather than just talking. Like he could talk about the Bridge of Rott for the whole movie, but if you never see it, then you're wondering if it even exists. So by showing it, you're telling the story through images rather than just words. So that I felt was important to do. And then as far as the editing for the final film, there are some variations here. Like for this scene here, if we normally play it, it goes kind of slow. So I was going through a pacing concern where I felt this scene just dragged out too long, where he's just watching the zombie slowly fall apart and then he slowly climbs up the ladder. So I said, well, I think I need to speed that up. So rather than leave it at 33 seconds of film, I decided let's see what it looks like a little bit faster. And even that I felt was a little too slow. So what you could do is zoom in to this clip and say, okay, well, he cuts it, the zombie, at that point, so let's split it there and then speed that up, and then let's see what that looks like if we speed that up even faster. See, that's a little too fast. So once that is complete, where the zombie breaks apart, then we could go back to the regular double fast speed and then play it back and see how you could cut it up at different speeds and get different effects and improve the scene. So that's what I did to not drag it out so much. And then that segued into a transition of the dog, the pug dog. And the pug dog, okay, that's a separate section. But let's say you wanted to do a transition. I don't have that clip with me at the moment. But I did do a cross dissolve from Max's scene into the pug dog scene. And that's the cross dissolve right there. Really nice effect that shows the passage of time, or just a transition to the next shot. You could do a fade to black, which I used to rely on because there weren't too many other transitions back when I made the original City of Rott. But it's the most basic, but definitely an effective transition. Or of course you don't need any transition and just cut right into there if you wanted to do it that way. And then I like this circle open, and the circle, I think that's a neat effect. And then I like the slide effect, as long as it's following pattern of the scene. So for example, he's going left, the scene swipes to the right, and the scenery's going to the right. So I said, well, this is dragged out too, so let's speed this up, or let's just cut closer to the action so we're not wasting our time looking at a bunch of buildings with where we need to get to the story quicker. I felt we needed to start the story, so rather than watch a bunch of buildings, I cut it like that, and then next thing you know, we're zoomed in to Fred, so he could start talking and get to the probably one of the most important scenes where he finally meets Sarah, so he could get the story rolling. Because I felt before that the introduction's important, but we need to get to the story and know what's going on as soon as possible. So there's the transition. I believe I sped it up to something like that.
You stupid
And then it
bastard,
nicely
can't see the bridge through that stupid bastard, can't see the bridge through that damn fog. We need a map. I told you climbing up here was a waste of
Generally
time.
the idea of editing the film, and one thing that really helped me was to let the film sit for a few months without watching it, and that helps me detach from it, because when you're involved with a film for years of making it, there's no surprise to watching it again, and you become sort of attached while at the same time detached from it, but you need to become fully detached from it. So when you watch it again after, let's say, a few months of not watching it, you can see it with a more objective point of view rather than being too subjective and too attached to your own film to the point you're like, oh, well, I don't want to cut anything, I like it all. You want to look at it critically, so it's almost like you want to think of it from the point of view of the audience. Are they going to get bored with this? And if so, then you might want to cut it. So that's part of pacing, which is really important for a film, and that's something I still am learning about, but only because I didn't go to any formal school, and when you're learning on your own, you have to go find the resources to do a better job with what you're doing. So that's the general idea of editing your film. And now we'll move on to the next step and go from there. Here's a program called GarageBand, which is no longer supported by Apple, but it's still a fun program to create music with, all original music, where you can control and create every single note and then create the instruments that you want as well, rather than rely on already pre-made loops and all kinds of stuff that's not original. I like to do every single note from scratch with all of my music and songs, so everything's original and my own ideas, and that includes the drum tracks, which you'll often see presets for, but I rather just create from scratch. So here's a song from my electronic act called Aggressive Electronics, and this is from the new album I'm working on, which should be released in 2019, called Decaying Hope, and this song is the title song. So let's play it, and then we'll just play part of it, and then I'll show you a little bit of how to create notes and use instruments and create a beat from scratch. So let's play part of it. So we'll delete that too. And now we have just the drums. So rather than spend a lot of time on the drums, but just to give you an idea, here's the bass drum. This is full volume, demonstrated by velocity. This one, I reduced the velocity to give a lower impact to the bass drum, and you do that just by pressing this slider, and it changes the, so you get different inflections and impacts of the drum. So moving on, let's get to the point here, and what you do is hold the window Apple button, depending on what keyboard you have. I'm not sure how this is going to turn out. I'm just going with whatever's popping up in my mind. Usually I practice, but let's just come up with a really basic melody just to give you an idea. There's some delay here, so this is really awkward trying to record and create at the same time. But what I do is listen to the notes. that last section wasn't matching the song, but it's just a quick demonstration. And that's not an actual part of the song. But that concludes the how to make music for your movie in GarageBand.
Fred. And this is Walker. Hello.
Got a case of skin worms. They're not lethal, but they keep me up at night.
Join the club. I got brain worms. So are you happy? Ask me after I cross the bridge. Where's the Bridge of Rott?
I'll take you there. Pull me up. You want the Bridge of Rott? Find her.
Look, doesn't she remind you of that nurse? One who brought me my walker on the bridge when all hope was lost? Don't risk yourself for her. She's not worth it. But what if I can help her this time?
I told you, she's radioactive. You hang around her, you'll be dead. Stay back, Stalker. These are my friends.
Without Sarah, the stalker would have caught us.
Too bad she's almost dead. Find my legs now, or she dies. You want answers? Then follow me.
Looks like your plan went to hell, Fred. It's what you do that matters, right? Right. Looks like we're trapped.
Welcome to the city of Rott. If I can't have my dream, maybe you can have yours. Nothing goes right, does it?
It's not what happens, it's what you do that matters.
You're all doomed!
Now let's kick some zombie ass!